my name is Lauren Eagan and I am the founder and CEO of Eagan Immigration. I'm here to answer all of your questions about immigration in the United States. Today we're going to talk about the T visa versus VAWA and how to figure out which one is the best option for you. Point number one, what is a T visa? A T visa is a visa for victims of trafficking. However, this does not always look like the traditional trafficking that we see on TV. Sexual trafficking, crossing state lines, forcing somebody to have sex or do sexual acts with another person for money. That is one way to get the T visa, but it's not the only option. The T visa can also be based on domestic violence, control, forced labor, things like that in the home. It can also, and very commonly is, based on labor or employment issues. For example, your boss forces you to work overtime or doesn't pay you what you're owed. They threaten you. Maybe they make you do things you don't want or make you feel forced to do things because you are an immigrant. Perhaps they threaten to call the police or call immigration if you complain about things. Those are just a few examples, but they're very common examples of what we see with T visas that are based on employment issues. Now, to our second point, what is VAWA? Well, VAWA is based on having a US citizen or permanent resident spouse, or being divorced or separated from a US citizen or permanent resident spouse, or having a US citizen over 21-year-old child. Though that's the main and first requirement for a VAWA case. Once we have that, we need to look at whether there are issues in the relationship with that person. So it could be that that person says cruel things to you, or tries to control you, or makes fun of you, or that there has been physical abuse. There are lots and lots of different examples. But the nice thing is there does not need to be any police report. A lot of people worry about that and think, okay, well, I never reported this to the police because it was my kid and I didn't want to get them in trouble. But you can still do a case if there's no police report and there is no risk to your US citizen or permanent resident family member. So for example, if you do have a kid that has given you a lot of trouble, maybe in the past even, maybe they're great now, but they gave you a lot of trouble in the past, by doing this VAWA case, you are not putting them on the radar, you're not putting them at risk. It is all about you and it is a self-petition. So how are they the same? And how are they different? This is our third point. They are the same in that you can do them both in the United States. So you don't have to leave for your interview. You avoid that risk. You are eligible for a work permit while the case is pending if you do VAWA connected with a green card application, which we often do, or you're eligible for a work permit at the end of the case. So T visas, you're now supposed to be eligible for the work permit while the case is pending. We're not really seeing that in action. Immigration officers are finding reasons to deny those work permits until the case is actually approved. But under the law, with both cases, you should be able to get a work permit while the case is pending. Another thing that they have in common is that they are based on forms of abuse or issues or problems that the immigrant has had here in the United States. And it's a way for the immigrant to do a self-petition. So they're not depending on somebody else. They have the authority to file the petition themselves without having to worry that someone else might not sign or might not show up to the interview. Now, how are they different? Well, one way in which they are different is that one requires a relationship with a US citizen or a permanent resident. That's the VAWA application. And the T visa does not have that requirement. So you can have experienced some sort of human trafficking, whether it's employment trafficking or sexual trafficking or whatever it is. And it doesn't matter if the person doing the trafficking is also an undocumented immigrant. That is not a factor at all. Another difference between the two is that they both come with a lot of waivers, which are really great, really broad waivers, but the T visa waiver is even more broad. So it's going to be easier for somebody with a permanent bar or more serious criminal convictions or things like that to end up getting their permanent residence based on a T visa case than based on a VAWA case. There are a number of different similarities and differences between those two cases, but those are some of the most common ones that I see. And point number 4, how do you know which one is the best for you? Well, it depends on your situation, first of all. Do you have that US citizen or permanent resident family member relationship or not? And what were the abuses or traumas or problems that you experienced or suffered? That's another thing that we're going to look at to decide, okay, which case is going to be a little bit stronger. And then what I always recommend, of course, is meet with a lawyer. Let the lawyer help you decide which is going to be the best option. The T visa can move a little faster than the VAWA can, but sometimes the VAWA is a little bit of a stronger case. So you're going to look at both of those options to see which one is the best for you. And what happens if you qualify for both? Well, you can decide. You can file for one, or you can file for both of them. I have some clients that say, you know, I'm going to file for both because under VAWA, I can probably get my work permit a lot faster, but my T visa is a lot stronger. So that's probably the one I'm gonna win. And I don't wanna waste time waiting for the VAWA to get denied and then applying for the T visa. I'm just gonna apply for both of them at the same time and see what sticks. However, you might decide, okay, the T visa is a lot stronger. I can go longer without the work permit, I'll be fine. I'd rather save my money, focus on the T visa, and get my work permit at the end. So it's going to be strategy between you and your attorney to decide what makes the most sense for you. What do you want to do? What kind of risks do you want to take? How much security do you want to have? And that's how you decide which case or both cases to move forward with. All right, I hope that answered your questions about the T visa, VAWA, what are the differences, which one is best for you. As always, you can contact my office at 202-709-6439. Until next time, bye.